screenshots?
Well, I was a younger man. Now I screenshot I keep receipts of fucking everything. Because even on WhatsApp, people can go back and delete stuff. But yeah, she denied it. She said, I'm not going to therapy. I don't need therapy. I do not know what you're talking about. And I was like, you have a problem. She said she'd been to a therapist in the European country she was in, and the therapist told her categorically there was no chance that she had narcissistic personality disorder. I said, what test did he do? No test. How did he come to that conclusion? We spoke 45 minutes. I was like, okay.
Did she ever broach the subject of engagement, marriage, and life insurance?
Yes, she did. She broached
Asking for a friend, are you?
Broached it many, many times. I think in the last 5 months that we were together, once I went to therapy in Dublin with your man there, who sorted me out, she could feel me genuinely breaking away from the relationship. Not the sort of like, I'm not putting up with this anymore, but I'm totally going to put up with this kind of a thing. I genuinely was much calmer and was like, okay, I need to grieve because I'm just sad. I'm not angry. I'm like, this sucks. She got scared. And at that point, she started to demand that I have kids with her. At one point, she started going into the psychotic, much more open rages again. And I recorded her a couple of times. You have to give me children. I'm turning 30. If you don't get me pregnant within 5 months, then we're done. And I was like, why not just be done now? I don't love you and I don't want to be with you. Why don't we just break up now instead? And she's like, don't you fucking say that to me. You give me children. I was like, I've never been more aroused, my love. Please let me put a baby in you. So yeah, she did. She was demanding that in the end, yeah.
So when the therapist in Ireland said these things to you and you withdrew, obviously what he said wasn't strong enough for you to just sever the cord.
Oh, well, I mean, I had done 2.5 years of utter insanity with her, and I don't think I did more. See, we would do one a week. Maybe I did 6 weeks with him. Then she insisted on us going to a couples counsellor. So the Irish guy, I did 6 weeks one-on-one with him. Then we went to a couples counsellor who's a South African guy, and he clocked her straight away. It was great. Straight away, he clocked her. And so we did our session, and I called him the next day, and he was like, you know what you have to do.
So he clocked her, but he didn't say anything to her at the time?
No, he didn't. He didn't. Fucking, oh God,
Thank God for that.
Strong flashback there.
What do you think he saw right away?
He just knew. He knew what he was looking at. I saw it on his face. He knew what he was looking at. And I called him, and he said, I can't tell you anything that you don't already know. And he said, fuck. He said, you know what you have to do, and you have to do it today. Do it now. When she comes home, do it now.
How'd that make you feel?
Fucking terrified. I can feel it now. I was like, fucking hell. I will remember for the rest of my life sitting in that living room. I'm a grown man, like, you know, my background was self-defense. I had a world-recognized brand in teaching fucking high-level military how to kill people and all that. Embarrassing, so shameful. I sat there in shock. And the dog was there, and the dog's looking at me because he can feel the tension in the air. He's like, what's going on here, mate? I was like, just don't cover the ears, lads. You don't want to listen to this. She came in, and I gave it to her. I was like, this is what it is.
What did you say?
Yeah.
She said, I'll never, ever forgive you for this. I'll never, ever forgive you for this.
Were you cohabiting at this time?
We were. I moved out and went to a hotel, even though I was paying for the apartment.
Oh, let's go back to the conversation.
Right, so she walks in.
So she walks in, and I'm like, listen here, darling. You sit down. I have a few words to say to you. And it was weird because we were sat at a table where like a week before she'd had one of her psychotic rages, and she picked a glass up. I've been glassed. I was glassed when I was 21. I've still got glass in my eye. So I had somebody, I was gay bashed. I'm not gay, but I was in a gay bar. Some guy went in there to gay bash somebody. He smashed a half pint glass against the side of my eye, and then it shattered and went into my gums, went into my lip, went into the bag under my eye. Little bits still come out now. She knew that, and she jumped up and she picked up a champagne flute and stood over me with it, and I was like, shit. So we're at the same, she didn't do anything. She put it down and she calmed down. We're at that same table like 5 or 6 days later. The reason why she flew into that rage and picked up the glass is because I'd been to therapy and because I was getting better. And she wanted to know what the therapist was saying to me. And I'm like, I'm not telling you.
Because you went to the therapist that she told you to go to, you're now in trouble, of course.
Yes. And because I was getting better. She went, tell me what he said. I was like, I don't have to tell you anything. And I was calm. She'd not seen that before. What did he tell? Again, so embarrassing. You know what my therapist taught me that really helped? The narcissism expert and self-defense expert. He said, why don't you start trying to say no? That's it. So I would just be there with her and I'd be like, no, no. And she'd be like, what the fuck is this? And I just did it again and again and again. And she'd be like, you have done this because blah, blah, blah. And I'd be like, no, that's not true. And she just didn't know. I don't know what I was doing before. I think I was trying to argue the case. I think I'd be like, no, it's not like that. I'm really like this. And I just started saying to her, nah, it's not. No, no, no. She couldn't handle it. And so the rage got worse. So to answer your question, a week later, I'm sat at the same table. She comes in. She knows. Because I'm sat at the table like this. Who sits at the table in the living room, you know, like that? Come and sit down with me, darling. She knew what she was getting before she sat down. And I just said to her, like, okay, I've been to therapy. We've been to a couples therapist. I've had plenty of time to think about this. And there is no future in this for me and you together. We should stop now. I moved out that night and went to a hotel.
Hold on, what was the response?
Oh, the response was, yeah, fuck you. She was furious. She was like, fuck you. I can't believe you've done this to me. I'm never, ever going to forgive you for this. You are the piece of shit that I always knew you were. You're just like your father. Boom, boom, boom. As many triggers as she could. But the South African guy had already told me she was going to do that.
So you knew the punches were coming?
Oh, it was coming. It was coming.
Because they try and destroy you, don't they, when it gets to this point?
Yeah.
They want to leave you wrecked. And he'd warned me, and he said something like, I can't remember. It was like, you just have to face it. You just have to do it. Fuck. It was bad. Fuck, it was bad. But did it. And went to a hotel that night. And I was like, I'm paying $4,000 a month on that place. Why am I in the hotel? And I sent her a text. I was like, because I'd said originally, like, you've got a week to leave and I'll go and stay in a hotel for a week. And then I sent her a text that night. I was like, that apartment and that contract is mine. You fucking leave. You go and stay in a hotel. And by that point, she'd stopped arguing with me and she was like, yeah, fine. She moved out 3 days later and that was it. But it was hard. It was just saying to her, this is over, was fucking brutal. It was really, really hard.
Were you at the point of changing your mind in the seconds before you did it? Was it hard to maintain resolve?
No, I was just scared. I think the therapist in Malahide is a good guy, and he'd already made me see that, like, the relationship had probably been over for a long time, and I'd already grieved it, really. Like, when I was in Sweden and I was in the beginning, and I was crying pretty much every day, it's because I knew it was all fake. I knew it was nonsense. So there was the resolve was there. It was just doing it. It was just tearing the plaster off, and it was fucking frightening.
Was your heart going and everything,
mate? Well, you know Liverpool. You know some of the characters I've worked for and dealt with. I've worked for Stephen French. Worked for Shaun there. Used to work for Capital. Like, I've had proper call outs, and I felt like a buzz, like a bit scared. This was 10 times fucking worse. I've had coked up cage fighters and not shook. But with her, I was like, fucking hell, okay. Here we go. Come here and sit down. I need to have a word with you. It was insane. Totally insane. I don't even know what I was scared of. She's a tiny little thing. It's like 45 kilograms. She's 5'6".
Is it the emotional investment that causes that? Because in a bar, for example, someone comes and threatens you, you don't even know the person. Is it all those years you spent together? It builds that the force is there, isn't it, of the bond? The
force is there of the bond. There's the investment. There's nothing a fella's going to do to me that is what's he going to do?
Were you no longer in love with her at that point?
No, I wasn't. I'd probably not. She'd treated me so badly. I probably had not been in love with her for about 2 years.
So after the first year, you were no longer in love with her?
I wasn't in love with her, no. She was God bless her.
I hope trapped because of these other psychodynamics.
I was trapped. I really, really hope that she's been to therapy. I know that she's moved on. She's got kids. I hope she's been to therapy. I hope she has a good life. And I hope she never does to anybody else what she did to me. She tore me to shreds.
So you fell out of love with her for 2 years. Did you think you could somewhat fix her?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I thought I could fix her. I thought I could fix it. I thought that was as good as it would ever get for me. I didn't think I could live without her. And I think, like, you know, you say, what's the fear? Like, versus, like, getting into a fight. Because I could get my head stamped on and die. But that's almost like a known outcome. With her, it was unknown outcomes, and it really relates to childhood trauma. It really relates to stuff with my mum and with my dad and love, self-love, and really the fear that, like, I would disintegrate, which I nearly did in the aftermath. I mean, I nearly did disintegrate. I nearly did fall apart.
What about the fear of her reaction? Did she go quietly, or did she do what narcissists do and try and destroy?
Oh, God, no. She spent a year. I mean, my mum stopped talking to me because of the stuff she was telling people.
What was she saying?
What was the first thing that happened then in her campaign against you?
Oh, God. She went to friends of... She went to her family. She went to friends of my family. And... yeah, she told him that I'd, like, physically abused her.
Oh no.
She basically said I was violent. Who's not going to believe her? I'm fucking 100 kilograms with a shaved head, and she's a tiny little thing. I look like, at the time, I look like a thug. I've got a background in martial arts and nightclub security. Of course.
And that's why these allegations are so powerful and they're weaponized so often, is because if you say that, some of them are going to be, there's no smoke without fire. Maybe you did do it.
Yeah.
And, you know, they weren't there, so there's no proof. So how did these people start to contact you then and say, what's up?
Yeah. I was attacked for it, but not by family, but by friends of family, people I'd known since I was 8 years old.
Didn't that show who your true friends were, though?
Oh, 100%.
So it actually benefited you in
the long term. Yeah. There's people who I would, you know, I don't wish them any harm, but I would never, ever speak. You've known me since I was 8. You wouldn't even sit down with me and just ask me and look into my eyes, and maybe I did, you know, maybe, who knows what happens between a man and a woman behind closed doors. I always say that of any, or a woman and a woman, a man and a man. Behind closed doors, we don't know. Like, people are shadow activated. It's intimacy. It's relationships are fucking hard. It's the hardest thing you'll do. Maybe somebody will put hands on somebody else, drunk, or a moment or a trigger or something. But she was claiming it was systematic and that it went on for 2.5 years and that she was terrified of me. And some of these people just said, yeah, fine, we'll have that.
How did that make you feel when these people who had been friends?
Suicidal.
Did it?
Yeah. And it's complicated. I don't know whether I should say this publicly. I was raised with their son. He was a naughty boy. He became a drug dealer. And sadly, in the last month of me being with this girl, he was taking coke, and then he was coming down with heroin. And you know how that goes. He was one of those stories. He took China White and didn't wake up. 18 months later, these people, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what grief does to people. They sided with her, basically, and they attacked me.
So they were projecting, but do you also think there's people out there who get off on just jumping on things to kind of cause trouble?
100%.
What's it called? Schadenfreude, is that it?
Schadenfreude.
Yeah.
They're taking pleasure in other people's suffering. If you feel powerless, you can join a mob and you can attack somebody. You might even not be invested in who it is, but it feels good to hate. It feels good to attack if you yourself are full of hate and you're powerless. And, you know, I was somebody. I had something. I'd made something in my life. I was an entrepreneur. And these are people who'd had, like, failed businesses, and there was a lot. It's complicated. It's a very complicated story. My family, ultimately, when I went back to more therapy and I learned to communicate better with them. and to be more vulnerable with them, they understood.
Did you go from feeling you had to explain yourself to realizing these people were never going to listen to you and just writing them off and then moving on?
With the people in question, there was 2 incidents that were extremely painful, and they really, really betrayed me very, very badly, very violently. And no, I didn't explain myself to them. In fact, I went the other way. At one point, I went into learned helplessness into an interaction, and they were like, why were you hitting her? I said, I just couldn't control my emotions. That's who I am. Because I thought, fuck it. Just fuck it. Yeah, fine.
You got that low in your own mind.
I'd gone. I went to them looking for support. I went to them for help, and I didn't understand what I was walking into that interaction. I walked into a setup with like hands down, and they went for me. They really, really went for me. And I was just like, yeah, you're right. I'm a piece of shit.
It's like animalistic, isn't it? They see you're at a low and they prey on that. They see you're vulnerable and they prey on that and exploit it.
Yep. And there's narcissistic psychopathy in that story as well. There's reasons why they did that, but I didn't see it because I still saw them through the eyes of an 8-year-old kid, and they were like second parents to me. There's me and my sister, and there's the boy and the girl from that family. We grew up together, and then I realized that day, I was like, oh shit, these people who should love me, they want me dead. Not metaphorically, they would have been more comfortable if I was in the ground with their son, because it would prove there was nothing wrong with the way they parented their son. There was nothing wrong with them as people. We were both just shitty kids. We were just shit kids. There's nothing to be done. You
said your mum had to cut her off. Had she been interacting with your mum to burn you?
Yeah, well, like, yes, the ex-girlfriend, she was interacting with my mum. Me and my mum had a falling out. We didn't speak for a year.
Was it the same stuff?
Yeah.
Was it the same stuff she was telling your mum?
Yeah.
And your mum believed her, did she, in the beginning?
Yeah. Well, my father is a really, really, really bad man, and he'd done horrible stuff. And like, we all have this suspicion, don't we? Like, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. You've got the same DNA. If your dad's like that, maybe you are a little bit. You seem like a nice guy, but maybe behind closed doors you are a bit of a bully or whatever. I mean, I swore at her. I shouted at her, and it's like, I'm too big. What would I do with a 45-kilogram girl? It was not going to be really damaging. Like, I couldn't put hands on her if I wanted to. What am I going to do? In rage, in an actual rage that isn't going to land me in prison. There was just no way I touched her in that way.
I can understand where your mum's coming from, but that's got to be the most serious repercussion of this woman's lies for you is your mum, because your relationship with your mum is special, isn't it?
Yeah, it should be sacred, and it is sacred. We have a great relationship now. There was other stuff before that had made it rocky. Like, I'd been in trouble. Criminal trouble because of the lifestyle. You know what I'm talking about. You know what the lifestyle looks like. It's very hard to stay clean when you're interacting with people like that. They see you're young, you're bright, you've got potential, and you get pulled into stuff. And I let a lot of people down. I ruined a lot of opportunities over the years, and I had behaved really, really badly. But not like that. Not like that. Yes, I was violent, but not to women. Not to women. I was like, so it was bad. It was bad, and we resolved it. And then yes,
when you say we resolved it, you and your mum.
Me and my mum did, and then the woman and the man in question, who were the family friends, they tried it on again with my mum and my stepfather, and they cut them off.
Oh God!
They cut them off. They just said no.
Good.
We're not having that.
Good.
Because they know me better now. They know me better now. They didn't have a chance to know me. I wasn't around them very much, and I was doing crazy things with crazy people. I didn't. We have to take responsibility for the way other people perceive us. And when I look back, I'm like, okay, that's not good. Like, the way I was living and who I was associated with was not good.
And at your lowest point, you felt suicidal. How did you start to rebuild yourself after that?
My God, I think the first thing I did was wrote poetry. And it actually, after the incident, it actually really, really helped. Went to therapy, and just took the time I needed. I needed time to process it. It was brutal. Like, it was, my whole perception of reality shifted. I started to go back into religion, spirituality, philosophy. I was like, okay, the world doesn't work the way that I thought, because I got really badly betrayed by parental figures who were people who've been in my life my whole life, who I loved, and this girl who I thought was the love of my life, she'd betrayed me as well. And so I just had to be like, okay, like, my sense of evil was more to do with men and crime, psychopathic men doing, that's evil. And then I was like, oh, there's a different kind of evil that can come inside of family units, that can come through girlfriends, boyfriends, husband, wives, that's coming through the avenue of love. And I don't think it's very often depicted. It's not in a lot of movies. It's not in a lot of books. It is out there, but it's quite rare. Somebody would use love as a vector and as a tool to leverage you and to exploit you. I mean, it's crazy. It's the movie Green Mile. That's why John Coffey chooses to die, because he lives in a world where that can happen. That it's lost a little bit in the movie, but that's the way Stephen King wrote it, and it is there in the movie. He has a chance to escape, and he says, "No, I'd rather die than live in this world." And that was the reason he gave, because love is leverage to kill people. So
she's burning you. She goes after your family and friends with these lies. What else did she do?
I think she tried a few things professionally, like with my followers.
So she put stuff online?
I think so. But the followers that I have, there is a section of people who absolutely hate me, who totally hate me, but they're not the thick end of the wedge. The thick end of the wedge are my followers. In order to follow me and to put up with my cantankerous, misanthropic nature, you need to be fairly mentally resistant, and you need to be an independent thinker anyway. And a lot of the stuff was just like, it's obviously bollocks, and it's obvious where it's coming from. And so I was gratified by that. I actually got a lot of support, and I didn't fight it. I didn't address it at all. And it basically died.
Did she try and have sex with any of your mates?
No. What she did was something that we joked about in the relationship. And so I'd said about a couple of friends that I knew, that they'd split up with their girlfriends, and the girlfriend, in order to take revenge on them, this had happened in the Wirral a few times. I was like, this is such a Scouse thing to do. So the girl immediately gets with another guy and then has a baby with him, to be like, haha, to the ex. And I was like, said to her, could you imagine being a baby that was born just so that your mom could say fuck off to her ex-boyfriend? How wretched that would be. And how many babies do we have around the world in Liverpool that are born like that as a joke? And she would laugh at that joke. And she went and did the same thing. She found the first guy she could in the town that she lived in, like two roads down, a local rugby coach, and she was pregnant with him within 9 months of us splitting up. She'd gotten pregnant. And
I got asked, did that actually burn you?
No, it was the wrong thing to do to me. It's that was something that would hurt her. This is the latent stupidity of narcissism. They project too much. She did the worst thing for her, not the worst thing for me. I just said, good luck, alhamdulillah, go ahead.
Because that helps you, doesn't it? Because the first thing she did to help you say go to the therapist, the second thing she did was have the kid.
Yep.
Because having the kid then is going to take the focus off burning you, isn't it?
As far as I'm concerned, like, once you are a mother, that's I'm not pursuing you. I'm not. You're now that little, and my mum showed me a picture of her. She put it on Facebook. You're now that little girl's mum. That's your role. You as my ex-girlfriend is gone. That's dead. And
did she stop burning you at that point?
She stopped. She had a child to raise.
And that was why? Because of the baby?
I think so. That's why I think everybody deserves a second chance. Everybody deserves, you don't know, like with psychology, we assume it's all mental. We assume it's all like, it's all childhood trauma. And a lot of it is mental. But some of these conditions, like the psychotic rages she was going through, we don't understand hormones very well yet. We don't understand the brain very well. We haven't mapped the brain very well. Endocrinology is still like a baby subject. maybe this might sound sexist, maybe she was a human being with a genetic predisposition to have children, and she needed children. And once she had children, whatever that thing, that just went. I don't know.
Do you credit her with forcing you to accelerate your growth mentally and spiritually?
That would be codependent. I credit myself. All praise to God.
but if this had never happened,
yeah,
you would have not been forced to have learned and matured the way you have.
Yes, that's true. I credit the situation and the experience. And I this is part of when I went back looking at spirituality and my own spiritual beliefs, I was like, oh, look, this is like Buddhism. All of life is suffering. The observation of suffering is what causes enlightenment. And then through that, we follow a discipline, which is all religion is like that. You go, wow, fuck, existence sucks. This hurts. Is there a God? Does anything matter? Okay. Then we start to form like an ideology, reverse engineered to the prime principle, which is suffering. Because if everything's fine, why would you bother your ass with all that praying and meditation and nonsense? It has to suck. It has to hurt. So yeah, the situation helped me to grow for sure.
So do you now have a screening place in process if you meet someone that you are automatically avoiding what happened to you because you see the red flags now?
If she's got like a pretty face and like big boobs, there's my car keys. Here's a bank card. Go and do what you want. That's my screening process because I'm very stupid.
I hope you're enjoying the podcast. Here's a word from our sponsor, Manscaped. Cannonballs. This summer, it's not about the size of those cannonballs.
Thank God, as I can barely see them.
Well, they were big enough to do the job, weren't they, Jen? We kicked. It's about making a splash with our friends at Manscaped.
Prep for barbecue season by making sure your grill master has the hottest dog seen this summer.
When you're at the cookout, let the meat speak for itself with Manscaped's Performance Package 4.0.
It's time to get ready and not sweaty.
The Manscaped Performance Package 4.0 has everything you need to guarantee you'll have the most mouth-watering treat at the party. They have built the ultimate bundle for your summer grooming. So, get 20% off and free shipping with the code SHAUN20, SHAUN20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code SHAUN20. Manscaped, the perfect way to get your patties sizzling hot this summer. Hoo-ha! Thanks for supporting our sponsor. Back to the podcast.
I've just pulled up on my iPad, we were talking about the 9 symptoms of narcissistic personality disorder, and the acronym actually spells special me here.
Special me, okay.
Special me. So S for sense of self-importance, P for preoccupation with power, beauty or success, E for entitled, C for can only be around people who are important or special.
Yeah.
I, interpersonality, for their own exploitation for their own gain. A for arrogant. L for lack of empathy. M must be admired, or E envious of others or believe that others are envious of them.
That's good.
That's
good. Special me. That's a good acronym for it. Yeah.
So if someone comes to you and they say, I'm in a relationship, suspected narcissist, what would you say? What was the first thing you would say to them?
I would say, what do you understand narcissism to be? Because it doesn't mean my boyfriend's an ass. It doesn't mean my girlfriend has forgot my birthday present. Narcissism is, or saying he's a narcissist or she's a narcissist. It's too commonly used. I want to know whether people mean, do you mean this person has narcissistic personality disorder, or are you saying they're a bit selfish? Because there is a world of difference between the two. Somebody who's a bit selfish, even if they're like really arrogant, really interpersonally exploitative, really envious, I can have a chat with them. You know, they could go to therapy. We could fix that. We could sort it out, or at least improve it. Narcissistic personality disorder, you ain't doing anything with that. It's rigid. They've had that since childhood. There's no authentic person there to assist. They live in a fantasy world. You won't penetrate it.
So we've had Samantha Markle on the channel 3 times, Meghan's sister, and she is quite well versed in psychotherapy and psychiatry. She's got a background in it, and she has classified Meghan Markle as a malignant narcissist. What does that mean?
There are different types. There's like pro-social, there's sexual, there's cerebral, but malignant narcissist means, I mean, you may as well say a narcissistic psychopath. There's the
Is that the worst one then?
Malignant narcissist is terrible.
That's what you called me.
I'm being sarcastic.
You are my little malignant narcissist, darling.
Love you.
I see he's got all the types written down here.
Yeah, keep going with the psychopathy of Meghan.
So it's adjacent. It's adjacent psychopathy because we're saying so as external to the person with personality disorder, what the judgment is, because it's socially based, is you're awful. Every environment you go into, you leave a stink behind and you make everybody feel used and exploited. It's malignant. So the proper term nowadays for psychopath is antisocial personality disorder. But for lay people, if you go antisocial, that means you're like sitting in your room. What they're saying is any and all social interaction is going to be nasty. They're nasty with everybody all the time. They're not pro-social, they're antisocial. They don't add to society, they only subtract. So that's somebody who's subtracting from society, fundamentally an immoral parasite.
All right, I'd like to spend a bit of time on Meghan and Harry then.
Now, she is an apparent pro-social narcissist. She does a lot of, good things and is attached to a lot of good charities. Yet she is perceived to be an absolute nightmare of a human being. Why is that?
The pro-social narcissist is aware that they can create an image that functions as a kind of shield for their own poor behavior. So they will make a true pro-social narcissist will make actual sacrifices and will do actual good work in the world. But it is so that they have that shield for their poor behavior when they're called out on it later. Like, okay, yes, I did this, but look over there, I did a good thing. So I believe that she would genuinely be investing money. I believe that she genuinely would be trying to help people. But the point of that is to garner narcissistic supply. It's not to help anybody, because for somebody like her, there isn't anybody else in the world. There is her. And she's the center of the universe.
And this is why she had to be with, a member of the royal family.
Oh, does she even know who's royal? Oh, who's royalty?
Didn't.
I didn't even know. Yeah, that's why she has to be with somebody who's important. I mean, you just read that as one of the 9 traits. They have to be with people who are at a certain social status.
And did she know it was going to end up this way, though? The whole world practically hating her.
No, she thought that she would be beloved. She thought that she would be the next Princess Diana. And that's why she targeted him. Also for his weakness. I mean, God love him. Like, she would have seen the mother trauma there, and that he is kind of a baseless individual. He's a fish out of water. He's the second best. It would have been enormously easy to manipulate him into the position that he's in now for her, and low risk and high reward. So she is a smart psychopath. She's made a good choice and a good judgment there. Her narcissism, however, her delusional grandiosity, made her think that the British people would love her the way they loved his mother. And the opposite is true. I mean, largely speaking.
Because I believe where she went wrong was falling out with Kate and William so early on, in her relationship with Harry.
Yes. If we were advising her as psychopathic advisors, we would have said, listen, you've got to control your impulses, play the long game, be humble, look at Kate. Even if you don't feel like her, just do what she does. It's a life of service. It's a life of service. You are a soldier. Do that. Be of service. Do your duty. That's what the royals like. That's what the Brits like. That's what it is. No, she wouldn't. There's no fucking way she has the patience and impulse control.
Did she manipulate that situation with William and Harry then? So William and Kate, so she could get more control of Harry?
Possibly. So if we assume that she's done it cleverly, she would have done it so that ultimately she gets more control of Harry. But then, to play devil's advocate, did she need more control of Harry? And maybe it was just narcissistic injury, narcissistic rage. She just couldn't stand the fact that they were always going to be more loved than she was. She never had a chance. I think she just misjudged. And then she got a lot of negative feedback. And because she's very fragile, that sent her into a narcissistic injury and narcissistic rage.
Do you think she got confused that Harry would somewhat someday get the throne and she might be a princess queen?
I don't know. Maybe her delusion doesn't quite go that far. I mean, she must have known how, like, statistically, how incredibly unlikely it is. I think she has made some correct judgments. In America, British people and British royalty means something that it doesn't mean here. And there is a huge fascination abroad. Like, you go abroad. I remember I can't even remember what country I was in. And it was Charles's coronation. I don't know. Maybe I was in Czech or maybe it was Spain. Did you watch it? People were saying to me. I was like, no. Why not? You're English. Why don't you just sit there glued to the television watching and being crowned? I'm like, because who does that? That's like
we did.
Well,
because we were commenting on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's your job to. And no judgment against people who did want to watch it. That's fine. But there was this. They watched it. The Spanish watched it. The Germans watched it. The Americans watched it, and they were appalled that I didn't watch it. They're like, "Isn't this a historic moment in your British history?" I'm like, "Well, the role is largely symbolic. I mean." It's not, it doesn't, it's great. Like, it's cool. It doesn't change anything, but it still has that magic. It still has that glamour. So I think the way that we would have Hollywood on a pedestal, but people in LA would be like, bleh, who cares? It's the opposite is true, but for the royals. So she was right. Like, it put her center stage for a while, but just not in the way that she really wanted it to.
Do you think she's the reason behind Harry releasing his book Spare, exposing his brother?
I mean, that is such a woefully miscalculated book, and either he's, I mean, I don't know. I look at that and I think, has he gone completely mad? Is he totally effing deranged? She must have been a huge driving force behind that. I think he's essentially her sock puppet for now. Like, her hand is deep in his bum.
Because it started off, didn't it, with the Oprah. The Oprah interview was first. Shortly after, they started going on, I think it was James Corden, and then the book was released. And then finally, she didn't get invited to the coronation. I mean, what sort of a power play was that?
To not invite her?
Is it because too much of attention would have been drawn to her?
Well, they've said that they don't want to be royals. And I think it's... I'm not pro-royal. I'm not a royalist, but I have to say, like, what do I think of our queen who recently died? And I was like, she did a really, really good job for a long, long time. That was pushed on her. Nobody, do the royals make bad decisions? Sometimes, but most of the decisions they make seem perfectly rational. Those two humans said they don't want to be royals anymore. Okay, you're no longer attending a royal function for royalty in which somebody is made even more royal than they already were. You said you're not interested in it. So of course we're not inviting you. Inviting you how? Where would you stand? You said you're not royals. Where are we going to put you? What gown are we going to stick you in? What magical hat do you get to wear? You're not royalty anymore. You can't wear the special hat. You didn't cut that bit. He did though, didn't he? Prince Andrew, didn't he wear the Order of the Garter?
He did, yeah.
And the logo for that is only soit qui mal y pense, which means it's only bad if you think it is. Definitely cutting that.
So if she is a narcissist, Meghan Markle, what is Harry? Is he an empath who's been traumatized by
absolutely not, I don't think.
Death of his mother?
I really, really don't know. I don't know. I could say that, like, he's been way too permissive, way too unboundaried, way too grateful for whatever he thinks he's received from her. I don't know what she's saying to him. I don't know how she's mirroring and future faking him, telling him that she sees that he's the better brother. I don't know what he needs to hear, but she's saying it to him. Would I go so far as to say he's just a codependent, empathic type who's going along with it? I couldn't say that, because if you look at his history, there is a pre-Meghan Markle, pre-MM Harry who has his own history and his own story, and there are some performative displays of pro-social narcissism within his backstory, as there was with his mother. I mean, sorry to say, like, some of the things that she did were performative and they were virtue signaling. maybe she was a nice person, maybe she wasn't. I never knew her personally. But there is that element there. There always was.
So be raised as a royal then, like Prince Harry. Does that pressure and that abnormal upbringing create a completely different kind of personality type?
I think it must do. I think we've got to look again at that context-based narcissism. For the grace of God, go we all. I don't know what torture that is like. I don't sit there saying, oh, well, you've got loads of money and you're really famous, it must be effing brilliant. No, I imagine it's fairly awful. That is, as I said, it's a life of servitude that you didn't choose, and you can't escape it unless you denounce yourself as a royal. That's the only way out. It's like leaving the mafia or something. So yeah, I think that it would make most people quite mentally sick, though. I mean, like the fame that you've experienced, you were already a fully formed adult when it happened, and you came up not too fast, right? Like it was fairly well paced.
This channel started in 2007,
right?
And the blog started in 2004.
And your first big book release?
2010. It's all been gradual, slow and steady progress.
And there was a big Vice documentary as well, wasn't there? Was it Vice?
Nat Geo.
Yeah, Nat Geo. So I always look at like what age that happened. If it's after 25 and you've already had some fairly hard life experiences that have already tested you as a human being, you know who you are, you know who you're not, you've had your wild party days and all of that, and then you're rising slowly. You don't get the bends because you're coming up nice and slow. As a kid, he's been in like front page of the newspapers, and people are looking in his socks that he can't pick his own nose without perhaps taking it's a hard life. People probably get annoyed with me saying that. You wouldn't want it. You might look at it and think, oh, it's all just parties and wealth. It isn't. Like they are duty bound, and they've got people pressuring them all the time.
Is that why he stepped down? Because of that pressure?
Part of it. For him, probably it was a calculation of saying, here's all the pressure, here's the reward. He probably thought that for years. Now he's got a girl with him who's also encouraging him. She's not going to get what she wants from the scenario. She probably was pro-royal until she realized it wasn't going to go her way. And she's like, this lot, they're racist. Let's go. All right, darling. Yes, of course. We'll go with mummy's lip balm for my Todger. That's in the book, right? You put his mum's lip balm on his Todger. Aging Dr. Freud.
Do you think that she has depleted... she's maxed the depletion of the resources 100%. From him, and she's going to move on?
I can't see a future in this, and that's where you see more of the classic narcissist codependent formation. As I said before, like the narcissistic psychopath was narcissistic psychopath. It's actually quite stable, and it actually has longevity because they can take turns and they can find victims together to consume. If it's truly narcissist with codependent, even if you get 20 years, the codependent's going to be worn out. They just start to physically die.
Have you seen some of the pictures of him coming out of clubs and stuff? And no. He just looks frazzled.
Does he?
And it's recent.
Yeah, recent. And you mentioned, from your experience, you just felt you were frazzled.
It's a nightmare.
You can see it in his eyes.
It's like an ongoing adrenal exhaustion. Like you're constantly under threat, but there's nobody you can't run, you can't fight. It's like psychological torture. It's bloody awful.
So who do you think is going to pull the plug first? Do you think it's going to be him or her?
That's a really good question. I think if she thinks the ride that he's given her is exhausted and she has a better option, then it would be her. But being married to a royal, even if he's a former royal, that's a hell of a passport. It's a hell of a passport.
Samantha Markle said she would only be satisfied if it was like she was the president and a billionaire, and she was the president of America.
Yeah.
It's got to be something bigger than a royal. How can you get bigger than a royal?
Yes. And even then, with the way America is with class and nobility and royalty, there's a kind of jealousy that Americans have. There's a thing that we have that they can't. And I get it. Like, I sympathize totally. I'm not anti-American.
It's titles versus wealth, isn't it?
Exactly. You said it. That's exactly. I was going to say it in about 5 minutes. You said it in a much nicer way. It's titles versus wealth. You can't buy it. So even a billionaire, it's pretty cool. startup billionaire. Well, there's a few of them. He's a royal. That's a royal. Like if you, so that might mean something in less classy places, but if you're around, she's been around Europe now. Europe's a different thing when it comes to class. You can be anywhere in Europe and be like, this guy was a member of the British royal family. It's going to open more doors than any billionaire can.
But surely going for someone like Elon Musk, like I would personally,
Yeah.
if I was her, hit that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bit of the old Elon.
Yeah.
Again, it's the perception of the royals from America versus the UK. Because in America, young women are raised on Disney, the castle, the prince. So psychologically, that's in there from a very young age.
Yep.
And no matter how rich people get in America, they can't buy a royal. They can't. It's not something you can purchase. It goes back thousands of years. These bloodlines go back thousands of years, and that is something. Look how long America's been around. It's something that they can't compete against.
But I'm just saying, Elon Musk, he's one of the most powerful men in the world.
In a crude capitalistic way.
Yeah,
I don't.
In a refined,
royal
bloodline way.
They have this lust for refinement. So if you spend time, oh God, Americans are not going to like this. So Americans will say to you, with all good faith, go and stay in this hotel. It's beautiful and it's really fancy. And you'll go there and you'll be like, this is a shit version of an Italian hotel.
Yep.
It's really chintzy and sort of fake and like
cheesy.
It sound like a European snob. Or they'll say this restaurant is really, really classy, and you'll be like, "Oh, is this what you consider to be? This would be." You could walk up a high street in a Greek island and find better food than this. It's very hard for them to get that, and it's not just America. In Asia, it's the same. In Dubai, it's the same. They want that European vibe, that European essence, that European class, and it, as smugly we can sit here as Europeans going, "Well, we've got everywhere. We've got loads of history, loads of titles." They can't buy it. It's really frustrating for them.
But in defense of Americans, and I'm half American, I was there for 16, 17 years. When I went to America, the 5-star resorts, the hotels, and you come to England and go a 5-star or 4-5, and it look like they need a refurb.
They all do. It's crap. and I think
good clean. Yeah,
I think she was traumatized when she found that, because this isn't Disneyland. She would have gone to some of those castles. It's the royal family. They're not infinitely wealthy. And she'd have been looking, she'd be like,
that sofa's a bit old.
This is old. The floor's creaky. That car's dirty. She's wearing clothes that look like they should have been binned 15 years ago. And but British toffs are a bit like that anyway. They don't want the best of it. I don't know why. Like, it's a flex past a certain level of money. The flex is to be a bit dirty and disheveled because you don't care. Now, if I was her, coming from her background, I'd be looking at that going, ew. I should have gone through one of those Saudi princes or something. It's perception and it's what you're attached to, I guess. She may drop him, but I think this is how we got into this conversation. Is there's that magic of being British royalty and the fact of her ethnicity as well. I've had female Black American clients saying to me, 3 over 10 years of working, there's something about, because of the Disney movies, a white prince, because they're always white, and they're typically set in a European style if they're not actually European. And they've said, like, there's a power to that. That's what we're raised on.
Believe me, when my aunt was taking me to the nightclubs when I was 16 in America and introducing me as Paul McCartney's nephew, I was playing that to the max. Not quite a prince, but still.
Still, it's up there. It's up there. That's also British royalty, being a Beatle.
So when Harry's said things like, with the paps chasing us, I'm fearing now that something like that happened to my mum could happen to my wife. Is this genuine concern?
He shouldn't be saying things like that. It's extremely distasteful, and he knows perfectly well that that's not likely. It's that is. I'd have to hear it in context, but the way I'm immediately responding to that is a very crude callback to what his wife wants to be associated with. Please put me in a sentence comparing me to your mother. Okay, here it is. The paps chasing you today could do what the paps did to my mother. How? Like, come on, dude. Like, She was killed by MI5. We all know that. Got that.
Because we are. Well, we just interviewed Lee Sansom, Princess Diana's bodyguard.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
The one who was in the car?
No, he's friends with him.
Oh, okay.
But he has all the inside on it. And he told us a lot about MI5, so you're not far from the mark there.
Oh, you won't cut that bit then?
Yeah, we'll keep that in. Watch. I'll put the link in the description box with the Lee Sansom, Princess Diana's bodyguard interview. And they were... she was under surveillance and they were following her, all the time.
Oh, really?
He would go out and knock on the window and then say, do you want a cup of tea to them?
Why not?
Well, I mean, yeah, I think my opinion of what happened is that I don't see, personally, I don't think that was an accident. And she predicted it. She said, if the brakes on my car go and I die, you'll know why. Princess Diana said that in a letter to somebody.
There's a lot of different theories. We've had everyone from David Icke on to Lady Colin Campbell, and there's just so many different theories. But
do you think it was an accident? You personally think it was just a random accident?
Me, no.
No.
I think that there was circumstances came together. There were vested interests that wanted her to go. In Princess Diana, her own words, she says, "I fear I'm going to be in a car crash, and I'm going to die, and they're going to make it out to be a car crash." There was the pressure from the paps. There was alcohol involved or not? The bodyguard is saying that alcohol wasn't involved, and the official story is bunk. So I'm the kind of person who just looks at all the different theories and tries to remain independent.
He sits on the fence a lot.
Yeah.
I'll have to watch that interview with the bodyguard.
Yeah,
that sounds really interesting.
Yeah,
I think if it was an accident, there's too much weight to it not being, and just like what she was doing, it was too much of a provocation, and who she was doing it with at the time that it happened, it was just too much for the establishment at that time. You got to remember, people have to remember how quickly the world has moved on. This was pre 9/11. It was pre several wars in different countries.